Good morning, and thank you for inviting me to speak and share the voices of young people at this crucial time. Improving life outcomes through building essential skills is something that is really close to my heart. So over the course of this speech, I hope to talk to you about the role that I believe you play in supporting individuals on their social mobility journeys. We'll discuss how you can measure socioeconomic diversity and inclusion and how you have the power to make a real difference. And I want to thank you again, this time not for inviting me to speak, but for you being here, because that really is the first step. Thank you, and thank you to the BITC for organising this. Social mobility, all about giving young people the best chance in life, no matter their background, has defined me. My life changed when I was in my mid-teens less than a decade ago. It was in my high school corridors where my future could have forked. I was living on a council estate on the peripheries of criminal justice teams, brought up by a single mum in and out of care when she became unwell. I know what it's like to grow up feeling angry and out of control, believing that the world and everybody in it was against me. I know what it's like growing up being abused and being told that, Saeed, you're not going to go very far. I grew up feeling that I had no purpose, and I knew that my life was laid out before me and it didn't look pretty. One morning before school, when I went to the corner shop, I saw newspaper headlines that struck a chord with me. These words: scum, yobs, feral animals and thugs, described young people. They described me. I knew then that something needed to change, and at 15 years old, I wanted to see young people leading that change. I set up a magazine to be part of the press to showcase the positive things that young people are doing in their communities and give them a platform to share their powerful voice. Today, Explode magazine is part of the larger charity Youth Leads UK that I serve as CEO. An organisation that's changed the lives of thousands of young people by building their skills, empowering their potential and influencing change. I went to a state school where double the national average of young people are on free school meals. I didn't have any networks apart from the network of local drug dealers. I still don't know who my father is, and my parents were corporate. The council were my corporate parents. But opportunities at school changed my life. My school did that typical thing that they do when somebody's being naughty. They started to give me responsibility, much to the confusion of my friends when I was appointed a prefect one day and I was serving a detention the next. And from being given responsibility to help out at school open evenings, supporting the school magazine, and taking part in the Mosaic Enterprise Challenge, one thing was clear. I never went to school for grades or to learn. I went to school, I felt, because it was the only constant in my life. It was the only thing that I knew that was there no matter what, away from the abuse and away from the lack of purpose that I felt like I had. And it was those opportunities linked with business that were built into the school delivery plans that became my turning point. And it was the business world, the private sector, that changed it for me. When I had the idea to set up Explode, now Youth Leads UK, of course, you need cash to get something like that off the ground. O2 funded my idea with £300 through their Think Big programme. And what a brave thing for them to do, to equip young people at my age, at 15 years old, with 300 quid to make a change in my community. And I can tell you the first thing I thought of when that cash came into the bank was how much more weed can I buy rather than how many magazines can I print. But after being completely overwhelmed that I was actually being believed in for the first time, I convinced myself otherwise. I was on the right path again. I spent the 300 quid and I went back and I asked for more. I was then given £2,500 and a mentor to help make my dreams a reality. Amy was my mentor, and she arranged for me to visit the O2 Leeds office where I met the CEO, Ronan Dunn. With wide eyes and a sense of living a dream, I was in a world I never knew existed. I'd never really been out of the boundary of my hometown, so to go into a big city with a massive office, what an amazing boost it was for me. Amy, my mentor, helped me write emails, create project plans, and was on the other end of the phone whenever I wanted to sound something out. I didn't come from a family of professional backgrounds, so I never had that ambition. Ronan, the CEO, spoke to me about the magazine, he upped my targets, and he still keeps in touch today to see how things are going. And you're 70% more likely to end up in a top professional job if one of your parents had one, compared to those whose parents were in routine or manual jobs. All of this happened to me whilst I was fairly young, but why should you care? Why should employers care about social mobility? What I went through in my mid-teens has made me who I am. It made me the person who always wants to go above and beyond. It made me the youngest recipient of an MBE in Her Majesty the Queen's New Year's Honours List. It made me the youngest Deputy Lieutenant in the UK ever. But it also made me the person that doubts oneself when I'm in these oak-panelled rooms speaking with dames and sirs and ministers. It gives me imposter syndrome, and I often have to remind myself that, no, Saeed, you are meant to be there. So social mobility isn't just at entry level, it's for all levels. And not every social mobility journey is the same or will end up like mine. But people like me, the underprivileged or the disadvantaged, people like me who've had a difficult journey because of circumstances we were born into, circumstances we didn't choose. All we've had is a different journey, but often that means we've got something different to offer. So it's no surprise that research shows that inclusive teams make better business decisions 87% of the time and twice as fast. Young people are a quarter of our population, but they're 100% of our futures. So why should you care? Well, these young people are making up 35% of the workforce already, and that will only grow. And when you have a more inclusive work environment, 83% of my age group, millennials, are found to be more actively engaged in their work. Increasing your diversity as an organisation, giving people a chance, no matter their background, helps you broaden your talent pipeline. It gives you that competitive advantage, and it helps communities where your staff are from, and it represents the best of British society. I had corporate parents, my local authority, school, business. Society was my parent, and all of my adult life has been in public service because I want to give back, and I see it as my duty. And if you're a business in Britain, I see it as your duty to help people who grow up, live and work in Britain. Let's ensure that stories like mine aren't just a flash-in-the-pan case study, but a practical pathway. And we can help you not reinvent the wheel. We are here to help. The Social Mobility Commission has round tables, resources, masterclasses, and you can download our Employers Toolkit at socialmobilityworks.org. And there are 5 key pillars to look at when it comes to employment and social mobility. Number 1, data. Data is key and data is king. Ask your applicants and your workforce one key question. What was their parents' occupation at the age of 14? The toolkit on our website will talk you through why a question like that is crucial to success. We've got information on how you can build trust to drive those response rates and measure your success. And one thing that I know about you today, by the fact that you are here, is that you want to be among the best. And the best will publish their data and set targets to close those gaps. The second pillar is outreach. Work with the charity and voluntary sector. Work with schools in social mobility cold spots or in areas with high levels of free school meals. Third, hiring. Remove those qualification barriers. We need to have a debate on qualifications at the moment because this academic year and the last have proven that we need to recruit based on potential, not polish. And fourth, progression. Reduce the informal ways of people progressing through the ranks. Clearly define the skills that are required to progress to each level. But what's important here is that you find out where people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds stop progressing and why. Fifth and finally, culture and leadership. You're all senior here today, and I want you to take ownership. This agenda needs ownership and accountability, and I think of O2's CEO, who took ownership of inspiring young people and dedicating his time to the Think Big programme. Over 3,000 young people were supported, and if they were like me, I'm still on O2 and I convinced my mates to join the network, there's potentially hundreds of thousands of new customers, so it made business sense to do that. Positive and representative role models are also important, and you'll be surprised just how many people that you already have within your business that have had an interesting social mobility journey that is worth sharing. Your people are a massive untapped resource, so get them into schools inspiring young people, and get your senior team to inspire your new recruits. I helped Santander set up a social mobility network. I remember travelling to their office in Merseyside and speaking at the first forum. We heard from their head of fraud, who talked about leaving school with no GCSEs, yet she worked her way to where she was. An incredibly motivating story. And I want to commit this morning to helping you as much as I can. Whether it be visiting your offices virtually for now and sharing my story with your staff, connecting you with officials at the Social Mobility Commission, or working with you through my charity and connecting you to young people through Youth Leads UK. Because young people, we know, are the hardest hit group as a result of the pandemic, which has shone the light on inequalities here in the UK. Young people are twice as likely to work in a sector that's been shut down, more likely to have been furloughed. This is affecting their mental health. We know that the longer you spend out of work, the harder it is, the more difficult it becomes to get back into work. That is why youth social action, mentoring, volunteering, work experience and other opportunities to keep young people connected to the world are so crucial to them getting ahead. PwC have been brilliant in running virtual work placements, and McKinsey's charity Generation, which I proudly serve as a trustee, is running skills boot camps to get young people into employment at speed and at scale. It's never been more difficult to be a young person, ladies and gentlemen. I cannot say that with any more gravitas. But the state of social mobility is not without hope, because you're here joining us on this journey, and for that, on behalf of the Social Mobility Commission and as a Commissioner for young people and vulnerable groups, I thank you. Because together, it is our duty to create a fairer society.